Does most of your life feel like an ordeal, a heavy burden? Do you feel stressed most of the time, overwhelmed, under pressure? Do you find it difficult to relax and do things that aren't directly connected to achievement? If yes, you're probably emotionally addicted to stress, pressure, and overwhelm to some degree. Stay tuned to learn more about this side in you and how to invite more of what's missing back into your life. Hey everybody, welcome to Becoming an Expert at Self-Leadership. I'm Maika, I'm a psychologist, and one of the things I find most helpful for self-leadership is understanding how we recreate the life circumstances that cause our problems. This happens unconsciously for the most part. We don't notice how our own behavior and thoughts and core beliefs are keeping our problems alive. Sigmund Freud was the first person that we know of to describe this. He called it the repetition compulsion. And although many of his ideas are questioned today, this is something that is still seen as very relevant by different approaches to change, personal growth, and healing. Nicole LePera uses the term emotional addiction for the repetition compulsion, which I find quite fitting because whenever we repeat something that is actually not good for us, it's because it feels right. Our emotions are geared around a certain way of functioning through our past experiences. And we don't notice that what feels right is actually destructive and unhelpful in some way. A common emotional addiction is the one to pressure, stress, and overwhelm. This is the part in us that only feels good when we're achieving, striving, or working at perfecting something. The main emotional state that we're in, if this is very strong in us, is feeling pressured. This is sometimes interrupted by frustration when we're not able to achieve as much as we'd hope for or at the level of perfection that we were aiming at. It's a sense of constant time pressure. There's never enough time for everything you need to get done. Every second counts. You're always aware of how much time you still have and how much you still need to get done in that time period. And no matter how much you do get done, it never feels like enough. You always end up putting more onto your to-do list and finding ways or trying to find ways to push more achievement into a single day. This has painful consequences. The emotional addiction to pressure disconnects you from your values. Values are what give life deeper meaning. They are not about what we want to get done and achieve, but about how we want to go about life, how we want to be present and interact with others. And when we're hyper goal focused, there's no time for values. There's no time for kindness, empathy, and connection. What also goes along with this is not being able to relax or connect to your experience. With the emotional addiction to pressure, you're disconnected from emotions, from noticing the beauty in everyday moments, from being present in the here and now and experiencing all the nuance of life. Your spirit kind of gets stapled to your to-do list and gets lost there. You don't allow it to flow, to breathe, to connect to what's important to you on the deepest level of your heart. Being addicted to pressure also hurts our relationships. For one thing, because of always being in a rush to quickly finish something, we won't take the time to stop and ask, so how have you been? And most likely, we will also put pressure on others. Others will feel pressured to meet certain standards or criteria so that we will stay happy with them. They'll feel pressured to perform or be popular by us. They may even lose interest to spend time with someone who is always so driven and turns every game into a competition. And it's not that this specific repetition compulsion or emotional addiction doesn't have any benefits. People who have this to a strong degree are often very successful at what they do. They have jobs with high responsibility and a high position at their job. They're often wealthy to some degree because they've always worked hard. Or if it's a younger person, they may be the kind of person everyone wants to join in a group project because they know they can rely on them to be in at 150% every step of the way. So if you notice that you have a lot of this in you, a first step could be to honor the advantages and benefits this has had for you. Changing the emotional addiction to pressure isn't about stopping all striving and achieving, but about balancing it. And the next step is to become aware of how you're keeping this sense of pressure alive in your life. Life does not have to be all pressure, grim duty, getting things done, and achievement. It just doesn't. It probably seems like that to you now. And I'd like to invite you to open yourself up to the possibility that this is because of your emotional addiction, because of your past programming, your mindset, and your core beliefs. Life becomes the way we see it. And if it seems like all pressure, that is certainly something that you are projecting into it. Understand where you first learned to function like this. It most probably started in your childhood. Perhaps your parents made it clear that you had to be the best at everything, a high achiever, or popular to get their attention, love, and approval. Or perhaps this emotional addiction has been running in your family for generations and you learned it through copying the role models your parents were to you. Or maybe you picked it up through the subtle things they expressed about the way they see life. Many cultures around the world are also very focused on acceleration, wealth, status, achievement. See how that could have fed this pattern in you. And what's really important now is to recognize the ways in which you are keeping yourself stuck in this emotional addiction to pressure. Notice how you skip over moments to connect with your emotions, experience in the present and the here and now, and your values and expressing your values. Notice how you skip over moments to celebrate, relax, take a breath, and connect to someone else. Notice how as soon as you're done with one thing, you jump right into the next thing. Notice how you're rushing yourself through life, also in moments when you could slow down, opt for a slower speed. Notice how you turn every activity, even hobbies, into a contest, either with others or yourself. Notice how you're always perfecting, scaling, and maximizing. This is turning you, a human being, into a human doing. Notice that the standards you've set for yourself and your family are way too high and too much for a wholesome life. It's also helpful to observe other people that are role models and examples for you, to take note of their mindset choices and self-leadership styles. Observe how much they ask of themselves and their families. Observe the slower speed they go through life with. Notice how that and their ability to be satisfied with less makes their life so much more fulfilled and easier. The main problem with repetition compulsion and emotional addiction is that we don't notice that our inner compass is off. It's out of sync. The same state we suffer so much in is what feels right. To you, it feels right to always be under pressure and set super high standards. This is what is at the core of the problem and what needs to change. What you can work on is feeling good about a healthy measure of standards and striving, and not feeling like you're being lazy or like you don't care once you lower your standards a bit. Give yourself that freedom. Ultimately, this is the freedom to feel competent and morally okay, even when you're not pushing yourself so hard to strive and work on perfecting something. This is the freedom to feel good about lower standards, doing things in moderation, taking breaks, and not being perfect and the best all the time at everything. And then you can also give yourself the freedom to take care of all the areas of life you've been neglecting in favor of pressure and striving. You can give those values and needs that are buried deep inside you the permission to step outdoors. Let me know if you have any thoughts on this. I think this is such a crucial topic for self-leadership, especially in our modern day and age. And another way of working on this is to use time management to contain your drive for endless achievement. I explain how to do that in my online course called Self-Empowered O'Clock, how to use time the way you truly want to. You can check that out at the link in the description box. Remember to subscribe if you're new here and you'd like to see more videos like this. And it may also interest you to know that I write a weekly self-leadership newsletter. You can also subscribe to that at the link in the description box. Till next time, take care, and remember to take note of all the things you do, mentally and otherwise, that keep this sense of being under constant pressure alive.